Hi guys, it's Marshall here with day 6. We're talking about real power or ownership specifically, since real power has its own set of dynamics beyond ownership. But ownership is where we start. This concept can be really, it's got two sides to it. The first side can be like swallowing glass. The other side, it's like the Holy Grail. It's really what we wanted all along. The reason why is because ownership requires us to give up playing the victim. You give up blaming others for the choices we've made, blaming others for the things we have not gotten in our lives, blaming others for not being what we want them to be. And that's just a big challenge, especially for those of us dealing with people-pleasing, codependency, or self-love deficit. Because we have been raised in a way to please others so they feel better about themselves, and that would make us feel better about ourselves. So this sets up an expectation sequence that leads us to getting very frustrated with other people and building resentment and exhaustion for trying to please other people so we can get that little nugget of validation and love. And that's the problem. Nobody is actually obligated to give that to us. That's something that is freely given to us because it's an act of love, respect, connection, value from them. Trying to squeeze that out of someone who doesn't care for us is hurtful to us and to them. And it creates an illusion that there's any kind of value in that relationship. So ownership has 4 basic questions that help us understand what is ours and what is someone else's. And so part of this is the swallowing glass, part of this is that Holy Grail power and liberation from other people. And so those 4 questions you want to look at are: who feels the feeling or the emotion? Who made the choice? Who did the action? Who had the desire? And it's literally, really is that simple. So if I felt the desire, then I'm responsible for its fulfillment. That means I can employ self-efficacy and advocacy to get it. I can ask, I can wait, but I'm responsible for it, not another person. Nobody else, whether it's your parents, whether it's God, whether it's your significant other, whether it's your children, your boss. If you have the desire, it's your responsibility to fill it. If you feel the feeling, if you have an emotion, it's your responsibility to manage it, to bring it to closure. And you can do that, again, through advocacy, asking, discussion, empathy, standing up for yourself, holding people accountable for the behaviors they do. Because they're not responsible for causing your emotion. Your emotion was a reaction, a response to their behavior. So you can approach it in this manner. It's like, I feel upset about what this behavior did. Can we talk about a different way of accomplishing this? And a healthy, loving, empathic person is going to be, yeah, totally, I'm sorry that this upset you. I want to help make this better. This also is in tandem with action. So if I take an action and it's got a consequence to it, I don't get to choose that consequence. I get to receive it and then work it through and accept it. If I make a choice that has a negative consequence in my life, I'm not a victim. I did that. That's the natural result of it. Now I need to take responsibility and accountability and deal with it. If I make a choice that hurts someone else, then I can approach that with empathy and ownership and responsibility and care. Because that kind of correction, that kind of fixing, or a loving habit there, what's technically called a repair, that kind of repair, restores strength and vitality to the relationship. Someone else does an action, though, that hurts you. Again, that brings you back to your feelings. So you're responsible for your emotions about it, and you can discuss with them their action. Now, if I make a choice and that choice turns out to cause a negative consequence, again, I'm not a victim. That was my choice. I can be compassionate with myself, but I also need to be conscious with myself to say, you know, I can learn from this. I can do better than this. What did I discover out of this that helps me see how I can improve it? See, and that gets into tomorrow's stuff with curiosity and discovery. So ownership is built on those 4 premises, those 4 components. This helps us begin to understand where our power is, because a lot of times we've placed our power in something else. So if I made a choice, let's say I wanted someone's approval, so I started doing something that I thought they'd like, and they didn't like it. Then I would get, you know, if I was in the blame stage, I'd blame them for not appreciating what I did, rather than sitting back and going, you know, I have a desire to feel like I'm valued by that person. Could I ask for that? Could I also value myself? Could I look and see at their behavior and what they say and do? Are they actually valuing me? Because they might be. They might actually be valuing me through their language they understand as value or love. And I might not be seeing it. That's a common issue. So the big thing here is that when we have a want or a need, those wants and needs are not wrong, especially when you get down to the emotional level of it. It's like, I want to feel valued, I want to feel included, I want to feel important, I want to feel loved, I want to feel pleasure, I want to feel belonging, you know, whatever it might be. Those are not wrong. They're never wrong. They're genuine, they're good, it's a valuable thing. What gets us into trouble is how we get those needs met or those wants met. And that's what ownership begins to help us understand. Because if I'm not coming from my power by asking, advocating, and receiving, so I'm not practicing that state of vulnerability and willingness to be rejected and accepted, then I'm likely moving into a victim place or a controlling place or a codependent activity, that kind of stuff. So ownership gets us back into our power, and our power is centralized in what we choose, how we act, how we manage our emotions, and how we deal with our desires and our feelings. So your power is already in you. If you practice ownership, you're going to begin to realize how many expectations you have of other people and yourself. And you're going to realize how much anxiety, shame, guilt, friction you have to being self-advocate, because you don't feel, frequently people do not feel like they're worth it enough to stand up for themselves. They don't believe that if they asked for what they wanted, they would get it. Now, I want to put a caveat on that. It is true that if you are relating to people who do not have a genuine concern and care and empathy, love for you, they probably won't give you what you're looking for. And if we use ownership properly in this, it helps us realize that that person is not a good match for us. And we need to change the person we're associating with. Basically, we need to leave that relationship and learn and discover and build healthy relationships that are reciprocal. So we have to give up hoping that that person will change through our pleasing behaviors and start accepting them for what they are, and accepting that they will not respond the way we need and want to our own wants and needs. Okay? So there's power here, but it can be a difficult process. Be compassionate with yourself as you realize your decisions were only made from a place of what you knew at the time. They're not a signal of your worth. They're not a signal of your value. They're not a signal of your capability. They're just a signal or a reflection of what you knew at the time. Self-compassion is a big deal in this, because you're not a failure, you're not a fuck-up, you're not a problem, you're not a burden. Okay? So I want you to practice this by exploring the questions that are in the PDF. Email me or respond below in the comments, or comment in the group about your experience with this and what this means for you, and any questions you have as well. Okay? Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow, and get out there and kick some ass.